We've just got another two that's come in. Just a second. Okay, we better start. Okay, welcome everybody. This is the first of our webinars in relation to research. There are webinars on two other subjects happening as well later on in the month. A full timetable should have been sent to you. We'll certainly email you and let you know what they are and when they're turning up. Can I introduce Dr. Rahman? Dr. Rahman will be taking this first session on the foundations of business research. This is scheduled to go from 12 o'clock through to about 1 o'clock. So without further ado, we're going to hand you over to Dr. Rahman. Over to you. There you go.
All right. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mahfuzur Rahman. I'm an associate professor at the University of Lincoln, UK. I'm also an advisor to the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, UK, and I'm also listed as an expert in the UK Parliament. Now, I have actually more than 15 years of teaching, research, and supervision career in the UK. I have supervised more than 7 students towards successful completion of PhD, and I'm currently supervising few students. And as I said, I'm also an advisor to the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, who are mainly dealing with doctoral studies in the UK. So I will share my experience so that, you can actually understand how you can actually bring your idea to a impactful doctoral research. So that is my main target. And also you will get an opportunity to ask me some questions, and I will try to answer your questions if you have an idea where you are struggling to develop it to a research title or doctoral study title. So first of all, if you want to do a doctoral study, you need to be clear actually, or you need to have some motivation, because this is a long journey. And if you do not have a proper motivation, then it will be difficult to complete it in time. I repeat, in time, because some people may actually take longer than usual, and then at some point they may feel like, okay, this is not for me. So it is better to be motivated from very beginning. So why a person should actually do this doctoral study? So there are so many reasons. One is international recognition, because once you have a PhD, it will have international recognition, and you will have a title doctor. That is very important. Next one is employability. Obviously, you will have better employability because we still have a huge shortage of doctoral graduate. Career progress, if you are still working, and then if you want to have a career progress, this can help. And there are some personal reasons. That is why I put question mark. So you may have actually different reasons, but you need to find out some reasons why you want to do this course. Say, for example, some people feel like, well, it is a social status, and I'm excited that when I will have this degree, but that is not enough. So there, you should actually, try to find as many reasons as possible, and then combine those things to make you motivated towards it. You also need to identify a trend. So once you decide, yes, I want to do my PhD, that is the first step. In second step, you need to find out what is trendy, what sort of research you should do, how your idea is linked to those trendy research topics. This is just an example from my Google Scholar research profile. So if you see in here, I have just listed top 5 papers. I didn't actually list, I have more than 70 papers, but in here I can see only top 5 papers in terms of citation. Now, the first paper is about transforming business using digital innovation, the application of AI, blockchain, cloud, and data analytics. It has actually about 800 citations. We published this paper in 2022. Second paper we published 2023, and it has already 290 citations. Whereas if you see, I published another paper in 2017, it has actually 183 citations. Now, if you actually compare, say barriers to enter in foreign market, evidence from SMEs in an emerging market. Now that topic is not something where people are interested. And that is why it has actually a good citation, but it is not as good as it is with the other two. Again, if you see, the fourth one is the role of artificial intelligence in shaping the future of agile fashion industry. Again, fashion industry is there, but obviously, as I am actually investigating the role of artificial intelligence, it is getting more citation. It was published 2024. Within 18 months, it has actually 165 citations. Next one, just we publish again about 14 months ago, and it has actually more than 150 citations. So you need to do your research in a topic that you believe people will like, that people are still interested, and then obviously it will be good for you. Now, when you are thinking about a research topic, so that is the base. You are thinking about something you want to do. You want to find out something that is trendy at the same time that will eventually impact to the society, to the policymakers, to businesses in a different way. But my suggestion is you need to actually think about one topic, explore it, and then go to another topic. But if you start thinking about many topics at a time, and if you do not actually do proper analysis, you will not be able to identify the title that you are looking for. Sometimes you may feel like, okay, this is about artificial intelligence, but I do not have much knowledge about artificial intelligence. But please remember, you do not need to be very expert or highly skilled to to do a research in a particular topic, because that is what you will do. One is impact of artificial intelligence. Other one is developing algorithm that will help you to develop some tools related to artificial intelligence. So those two things are very different. I'm not an expert in an AI, but I have actually written many papers. I'm doing research about the application of AI. So that is a possibility as well. Sometimes we feel like, okay, we need to write best English. Otherwise, we'll not get a degree. So please remember, instead of using AI or other tools to write your English, it is better to have normal writing, but do a proper research, because you will be given, there is no first class, second class, or third class PhD usually, or doctoral studies. So you need to do well. You need to publish your papers. You need to develop your skill, but you do not need to have very best English, because you are not writing literature only. You do not need to know the methodology perfectly, because that is what you will learn during your PhD journey. So you may feel like, okay, I do not know about this methodology, so maybe I will not be able to do it. Again, it is not like that. You will learn those methodologies when you will have your motivation. It will be easy for you to learn new method to analyze data, and that is part of your PhD journey. Again, you do not need to know a perfect analytical tool as well. So again, you will learn this during your doctoral study. So we do not expect that you will have very high quality English maybe, but obviously you will develop your writing skill eventually. You do not need to know all the methodology, but you may actually have some idea about those methodology, and you will learn rest of the things during your doctoral journey. Analytical tools, as I said, your supervisor will suggest you what sort of analytical tools will be better, and they will be able to assess your capability, and they will also be able to suggest which analytical tool will be better for your doctoral study. It's not like you need to read 24/7, 365. Like, it's not like that actually, that, okay, I must have to study all the time. Otherwise, I'll not be able to complete. You need to organize your study in a way so that you can complete your task efficiently. You do not need to be too worried. You do not need to think that, okay, if I actually start, then maybe like I will not have my social life. I may not have like, other times, or maybe like, I will be, say, unsuccessful. So I think that will affect you. If you do not have worry, then you will do better. You need to select a measurement scale, but it's not like you need to think about your measurement scale. That means like, what you will assess through your study at the beginning perfectly. So what can I do then? So I think you need to start with a title. So you need to develop a title that will have a short but indicative title. So I repeat, you need to select a title of your study that will be short, but it will give an indication to the readers, to your supervisor, to the university, to everyone, what you really want to do through your doctoral study. It should be, therefore, have three main things. One, an area of research. Second, a focus, and third, a context. So three things: area of research, a focus, and a context. Now, area of research, say, for example, I want to do my research related to a small business, or maybe you want to do something related to human resource management. It can be you want to do something related to marketing. It can be related to any area of research that you believe you like to work on. A focus. Now, I want to see this research area is actually like, see, is changing, is influenced by, or like, is like, so I want to give a focus on it. It can be, as I said, like artificial intelligence, it can be digitalization, it can be a new policy, it can be reforms. So something need to have a reflection on that particular area of research. And finally, a context. Context can be a group of organization. Say, for example, it can be textile industry. It can be in a particular country, like textile industry in Malaysia. It can be fast food industry in Malaysia. It can be hotel industry in Malaysia. Like, so a context, a focus, and a research topic or idea. Now, ask yourself, what is my interest? Am I want to do something related to human resource management, something related to accounting? Is it management? Is it sustainability? Is it innovation? Is it net zero? So what? So find out what is interesting to you. Then find out a focus and develop a relationship. Now, focus can be, for example, as I said, it can be artificial intelligence, it can be blockchain, it can be, say, sustainability, it can be governance, it can be, so it can be anything. And then now link these two things. Now, what will focus on what? That is where you need to find that. That is why I said relations. That means maybe you want to see how digitalization is changing the way small business is going to international market. Or maybe when international business, like, when small businesses are going to international market, they are actually changing the way they're using digitalization. Now, it is you who will have to decide what you really want to see. Both are right. So you can see how digitalization is changing, how you are making decision about international market. Or it can be how when you are going to international market, how that is actually shaping the way you use digital tools. It's not like, one is right, other one is wrong. So we cannot suggest you as a supervisor. It is you who will decide at the beginning, then we can give it a shape. So when you are doing it, when you are thinking, okay, I want to do it, what sort of things you need to consider? First thing, what difference do you think your research will make? That means, do you want to identify? Do you want to examine? Do you want to explore how, one thing is changing other, one thing is influencing other, or you want to examine what is the current trend, or you want to examine how things are changing over time? That is what you need to ask yourself. And then you need to know very clearly why you believe this is exciting. Because you need to justify. I mean, we need to see your motivation and skill at the same time. If you do not have motivation, skill will not help you to complete your task in an efficient manner. Second thing is, yes, I know, like, okay, you want to do it. I know that, okay, this is something that will motivate you. Next thing is a gap. So this is the question that you will be asked many times by your supervisors, by your examiners, by your assessors and other people. What research gap you want to fill? That means think like, there is a wall. And many people doing research in general can relate it to different things. Now, you need to find a gap that you want to fill up. Maybe like, there are some research from Western country context, but no research or less research from emerging market or developing country context. You can say like, well, this is what I want to fill. Or maybe like, there are some research from like, say more like in a male context, you want to do something from female context. Maybe like, they are focusing more on, say, large companies, you want to focus on small firms, or maybe even micro firms, or maybe like, say, immigrant-based firms. So something where you believe there are less research, and that is what you want to, like, say, feel during your doctoral journey. And then ask yourself how that will add value to your subject, how that will add value from three different dimensions. For example, theoretically, how that will add value. Maybe you will actually extend an existing theory. So you may have actually like a few theories, and then say like, okay, this study will actually extend this theory, or application or acceptability of this theory will be extended by this particular research. Next one is methodological contribution. So maybe like, you will develop a new method, you will develop some new data, or maybe like, you will develop a template that can actually like, evaluate something. That means you will develop that model. In future, other people will use your model to evaluate similar things, but from a different context. Last one is how you will actually contribute in policy making. So like, policy makers means government or other like, public organizations may be able to shape the way they are thinking because of your like, study findings. So first thing, you will decide about a title. Next thing, identify one aim and about three objectives. So that is important. So ask yourself like, okay, this is the title. Now, what is the purpose of this study? That is the aim. And then about like, three objectives. Now, these 3 or 4 objectives will help you to achieve that aim. So that is very important. From very beginning, you should really know what is the aim and what are the main objectives that will help you to achieve the aim. Then you need to write about significance or rationale, like, why you need to do this research. Is it something which is underexplored? Is it something that has not been seen at all? Is it something that should be seen from a particular group context? Is it something that has already been changed? So previously people have been thinking this in a different way, but now because of any innovation, because of a new trend, because of a social change, we must have to see something in a different way. So find out, like, what is the main significance. Now, that is also linked to your aim and objective as well. And then also with the gap that you have identified previously. Now, this is a flow chart. I understand you can see it most probably. So he said like the ultimate objective of our research is to develop, refine, and expand a body of knowledge. So that is my main target, that we want to ultimately develop. That means there are some development, but you want to develop it further. You want to, as I said, like, you want to enhance the acceptance of a theory further. Maybe you want to refine people's view. You want to refine existing literature, or you want to refine policymakers' view about certain things. and you want to expand body of knowledge. So people have been thinking that, well, this is something, what is the main norm maybe? Now you are actually making some changes so that so that we can actually develop it further. It is essential to know about the background of your study. You need to know about the key objectives, significance. So these things, again, you need to ask yourself, okay, why I'm doing this research? Okay, I'm doing this research because I want to identify how these things will actually change in future. That's fine. Then ask yourself, so what if we do it research? I mean, how that will actually impact to, as I said, to the existing literature, including theory, to the methodology, and also to the policymakers and managers, so from practical implications perspective. For research students, the most critical issue is actually, we said, literature review. So from before you set a title, you need to do some literature review. Once you have identified a title, you need to do some literature review to identify the aim of this study. Again, you need to do some literature review to identify the objectives of this study. You need to do some literature review to identify the significance of your study. For method identification, for analytical tool identification, you need to do some literature review. So literature review is something that you will have to start before your doctoral journey, and you will finish most probably after your viva. But if you are in academia, it will never end. So say once you have done some literature review, you have identified a topic, you have actually identified some aim and objective. Now you need to be familiar with the current trends and patterns. That means you need to go behind and then see what existing literature is actually talking about. To your understanding, you need to know all the literature, but obviously you may cover about 50 to 60%. So you need to have some idea about this literature. Now, to do that one, from very beginning, you can do something, I call it systematic literature review. That means whenever you are reading something, you can make Excel file with say author's name, country, methodology, then say findings. And then if you actually feel feel that an Excel file, whenever you are reading a study, you can read it and then keep a note. That will help you to see that trend. Now in future, when you will write significance of your study, so you can easily go back to that file and see, okay, how things are different in Western country and Eastern country, how things are different from developed country, emerging market, and developing country, how things are different from an Asian country and sub-Saharan Africa maybe. So in that way, you will be able to compare, you will be able to identify a particular trend. Now, if you want to know what sort of research tools are popular for this type of a study, again, you can go back to that file, and if you can easily see in Western country, maybe they're using one type of tools, whereas in Asia, it can be different. But once you have that particular file, you will easily be able to compare things from your own choice. Once you complete your study even, and then when you are writing analysis part or the so discussion part, in that case, you can again compare that, okay, I have identified this, which is similar to this study, which is different to this study. So that particular Excel file will help you to actually during your say proposal writing, when you're writing background of your study, when you're writing literature review, when you are selecting methodology, when you are even writing discussion, you can compare. So I usually ask my students to use that Excel file or keep a record and obviously use it as many times as possible. So as I said, literature review is not something that you will stop after proposal, review. You will have to, do it. After that, student will analyze data. So once you do your methodology, once you collect your data, then you have to analyze your data, present your result, and discuss your findings. You can again compare it, with the previous or existing study. And then you will conclude with a summary of your findings, summary of your study, then limitations and recommendation. So the key thing is you need to have an introduction. Introduction should have background. Introduction should have a background, aim and objectives, significance of your study, and how you want to organize this study. Then you have literature review. In literature review, there are two parts. One is theoretical underpinning. Next one is more about existing literature review to identify the variables or the factors that you want to examine in your study. Then you will have methodology chapter where you will explain what are the main methodological tools, techniques that you have applied in your study and why those are appropriate. A general suggestion is do not write your methodology chapter before you end your say analysis. So you need to actually keep it as third chapter maybe, but please write it after you complete your data analysis, because you need to highlight why you have selected particular analytical tools. Now, at the beginning, maybe you will decide okay, I want to use it, but when you will see some results, you can make some changes okay, I do not want to use it. I want to use something different maybe. That is why it is better to write your methodology chapter at the end. And then obviously you will conclude your study. Now when I was actually checking Malaysia is an emerging market. Okay, so as Malaysia is an emerging market, and you want to do your study from Malaysian perspective or from Indian perspective or from China perspective, from so all these countries are emerging markets. So they are not actually developed country, they are not developing country, they're in between developed and developing countries. Therefore, we call them emerging market. Now, so when we think about emerging market, and if I ask anybody, what is an emerging market? During your PhD, you cannot, these are the common factors or variables that can define an emerging market. That means an emerging market will have high growth, high GDP, high GNP, mostly underdeveloping or some developing, increasing middle class. They are manufacturing to service-based, resources. There may be some higher foreign direct investments. We have more higher or higher working forces. Now, these are some variables that you will usually see when people will try to define emerging market. But problem is, these are not the variables for doctoral study. For doctoral study, you need to, as I said, do some literature review. And if you do some literature review, you will see new type of variables. Okay. Say, for example, these are the variables identified by Torun Khanna and Krishna Palepu. They are Harvard professors. In their book, Unlocking the Potentials of Emerging Market, they said in an emerging market, there will be some information asymmetry. That means not all the people will have same information. Some people will have some information and other people will not have those information. And that is a variable. Then they said there are some misguided regulation for political goals. Again, that is a common variables in an emerging market. That means there will be some regulation that will be used or misused because of political goals. And next one is inefficient judicial system. That means usually in an emerging market, judicial system is lengthy, and sometimes these are misleading as well. So that means they are heavily influenced by the other variables. There are some lack of proper intellectual property right rules, and they have different labor laws. Now see, you need to read more about this type of factors. So if you actually use these factors like high growth, mostly underdeveloping, increasing middle class, manufacturing to service base. These are true, but these are not something that we can use as a measurement scales in a doctoral study. We need to identify something from literature, and literature can give you some variables that you want to examine from new data in your study. Sometimes when we say like, okay, you may have a different focus, do not say exclude something that is most important. For example, if I want to sell house, most important factor is actually location. Now, when you are actually doing this examination, if you say like, okay, how much influence we have from size of this house point of view, from shape of this house point of view, from color, from age, okay, all those variables are good enough. But if you do not include location, then this is not a proper doctoral study. So you must have to read more to identify the variables that you want to examine through your study. And do not miss most important factors. If you are not sure, it is better to ask some experts about their opinion. We call it pilot study. So develop some measurement scale, questionnaire or interview questions, and do some pilot study, ask some experts, and they will be able to tell you maybe, okay, these are the factors that you haven't actually included, you should include it. Similarly, when you are talking about say business growth or something related to business, now risk and opportunity is something that is the most important factor. Now, a relationship between risk and opportunity, people like to take more risk when there are some more opportunities. Now, if there are high risk but less opportunity, that is not something people will consider. So if you do not have some variables that can balance the risk and opportunity, then again, business growth is not something that will be investigated properly. When we are thinking about, say, digital tools, something related to digitalization, now previously we used to get some data from traditional tools, we used to ask people what is your opinion about this? But now we are actually using different things. We are getting some data from smart mobiles, from website, from gaming consoles, from physical stores, obviously, and from computers, kiosks, and social media. So see, we are collecting data from different sources. Now, if we do not actually consider about this, we use something which is very traditional, then there can be a question mark about the efficiency or about the usefulness of your tools. Why? Because in every 16 seconds, millions of people using email, Gmail, Google, they're using LinkedIn, Amazon, YouTube, so WhatsApp. So when you are actually using your mobile to do something in LinkedIn or YouTube or maybe Facebook or WhatsApp, email, Gmail, so you are actually giving some data. Now, those sort of data are also important because when you are using your mobile, we are collecting 4 types of data. One is transaction data. So we need to know where people like to spend more money. And then we can make a decision well, if I want to do business in this particular area, this sort of things we should actually cover. Click stream data. We need to know what people like, what people dislike in Facebook, in blogs, in tweets, and other places. Video data, what people watching from beginning to end, what people watching again and again. So from YouTube, we can see if everybody say okay, how about say tourism industry in Malaysia? That means there is a growing interest about the tourism industry in Malaysia. Again, we can focus on it. Voice data, but nowadays you will also realize that when you are talking about a particular topic or things, you will see some advertisement related to that in your social media and other YouTube or other say apps. Why this is happening? Because when you are using your mobile, we are collecting not we actually say organizations are collecting 4 types of data: transaction data, click stream data, video data, and voice data. And then now they are combining those things for like a holistic process, as a holistic process, so that they can identify a particular trend. For example, if you are buying some tie from some online shops, they will collect some other information from some other apps of your mobile. What is your age? What is your gender? What about your income level, education, occupation? And then they will be able to identify what you like, what people like about you, dislike, reply, rate, review, so who are following. So when we are actually doing this sort of analysis, then there will be some assumption that people of this age, this income level, this educational level usually prefer this type of tie, or other people actually prefer this type of people to wear this type of tie. So in that way, they will be able to develop some assumptions, and this is something that we cannot ignore anymore. This is a pattern, for example. That means when we are using our say mobile devices, YouTube, Facebook, other apps, we are actually leaving some footprint. And you need to have some idea. You need to see this footprint and make a trend. Like, well, I can see very clearly that say top left corner, this is something is popular for tourist destination. People who like to identify some amusement parks, that means say some deep say footprint, at the same time some light footprint, that means kids are going in that side, in the right side, that is where we may be able to get some amusement parks. So in that way, you'll have to do some pattern analysis. So when you are doing some literature review, you need to also see what people like, what people dislike, how you can actually find out. At the beginning, I said, see what people are citing more and more. Yeah. So which sort of topics are getting more popular? How things are actually changing over time? Because if you do not identify a topic that is trendy, you will not get motivation, because even if you do your research, you will not be able to publish. People will not feel interest to listen about your research, and you will lose your motivation, and that will affect your overall efficiency. So sometimes when you see these things, you have to understand. Say for example, if you actually see say this sort of so this is a say Amazon account of that I use, and from here if I ask you guess, I have 2 kids, whether they're boys or girls. If you have normal analytical sense, you will be able to say those are girls maybe. Yeah. So if I ask you what sort of age from this pictures, you will be able to realize maybe they are about 5, 6, 7 years old. So in that way, sometimes you will have to see some literature, and you will have to develop your idea about a particular trend. And again, say okay, you need to do it, you can understand it, but if you want to see a practical example, first thing, read some papers, read again, use some highlighters. Okay, this is something that is interesting to me. You should have a note-taking habit. That means when you are reading something, take a note, but I suggest use systematic literature review. So there are some 5 columns, for example, and then write, well, these authors in this country context, by using this methodology, they have identified this. If you actually instead of traditional note-taking, if you actually do it in future, it will be very helpful for your doctoral study. Sometimes you need to be familiar with some searching charisma. So I normally spend some time with my doctoral student, I actually do some testing, I help them, I give some tips. And again, using Google Scholar, for example, see the other side like Immerol or Taylor Francis or Science. So these sort of things are very common, and you need to be familiar with these tools. I will give you an example. For example, someone want to do a research about green human resource management. So the topic is green human resource management. Now I can see during 2015, 2013, 2015. So during that time, what is actually green human resource management? That was not clear. So people used to do some research about policies or practices of green human resource management. They used to review something that is closely associated with green human resource management. They did again some review. They actually write some simplified different dimensions of green human resource management, management. But that was something what people used to have some interest back 2015, 2013, 14 during that time. Now, if I actually click on since 2019, so if I actually click on that one, what will happen? Now, if you see, I just click on 2019, now new studies are coming. That means the role of green human resource management for employees, pro-environmental IT practices. That means how green human resource management is actually influencing a practice. The role of green human resource management towards organizational commitment. And again, we want to see how it is enhancing or not enhancing effect of green human resource management. So by 2018 or 2019, people now know about that concept. No problem. So people know it. Now they are actually asking more about the application or impacts of green human resource management. During COVID, I started working on research related to, say, artificial intelligence. And then during that time, I just wrote some paper. We wrote some papers by combining some concept by just visiting some website. Now, and we publish those papers in top tier journals. Now, those things are done. Now people are more interested about the application of AI. They used to know more about the application of artificial intelligence. Then came generative AI. But now people talking about agentic AI. Now, if you actually do some research, which are very old in terms of people's interest, then again you will lost your motivation very shortly. So find out something that is interesting, and obviously you will be more successful. Sometimes you can also conceptualize thing in a figure. This is just a sample example. At the beginning, as I said, you should have three things. One is your research area. Number one is relationship or a focus. Next one is a country or even a region of a country. Say, for example, I want to see the role of artificial intelligence on what? On employee motivation. And then we can say tourism industry in Malaysia. So the topic is examining the role of artificial intelligence to enhance employee motivation with particular attention to tourism industry in Malaysia. So what is the aim of this study? This study aims to identify factors that are influencing the motivation of employees in tourism industry with particular attention to the application of AI maybe, or how the main research question is how artificial intelligence, application of artificial intelligence is shaping the way people feel say motivated for working in the tourism industry in Malaysia. So we can do things in a different way. And when I said you need to identify about three objectives, one can be to identify the existing trends and patterns. So what are the main AI trends in the tourism industry of Malaysia? That is what you want to explore. And you can do some secondary research to identify that. Next one is when I said the application of AI, maybe there are two things. One is some people feel there are some challenges of using AI, and there are some motivation for challenge using AI. So again, you can say first objective is to identify the trend. Second objective is to identify the challenges. Third one maybe the drivers or the motivation of like using AI in this industry. So in that way, you can identify 3 objectives that will help you to achieve the aim. And then again, that aim is related to filling a gap in the existing literature. And then that is actually like, the gap is also associated with your research interest. So these things are like, closely related to each other. I think my target was to complete it by 12:50 so that like I can answer some questions that you have. Thank you very much. So now like I will ask Martin to like facilitate this, please. Like yeah. So I'll be happy to answer some questions. Thank you.
So please unmute your mic if you wish to ask a question. Thank you. Does anybody want to ask a question? Shafiq?
Hi, Doctor. Hi, Martin.
Hi.
So I have a question. It's mainly regarding the topic. Like once we select a topic, for example, it's about is A beneficial for B, and looking at the factors why A is not getting adopted. But during the research or towards the end of the research, after collecting the data and analyzing, we find that A actually does not influence B. And so then the second research objectives, like how can it be adopted for the general population, all those things doesn't matter anymore. So in that scenario, what do we do?
Okay, very good question. Now, in a doctoral journey, if you like decide at the beginning, like okay, A will influence B, and then realize, I mean, then you have, if you identify that A is not actually influencing B at all, this is not something which is bad actually. This is a research findings, because existing literature is actually telling you that A is influencing B, but A is not influencing B anymore. That will help you to explore further why A is not influencing B anymore. Now, I normally ask my students, actually, like at the beginning, if they do some say, questionnaire survey, keep some time for interviews. Then we can easily do some, like, say, interview 10 people. And we can ask their opinion. Why you think A is not influencing B anymore, whereas it used to influence, like, previously. Now, if there is no relationship in the existing literature, obviously you should not actually like conceptualize in that way. Then question could be like say what are the like factors that are influencing B? Maybe A can be one of them. So in a doctoral journey, if you feel that like okay something used to like happen but now it is not happening, that is a good research finding.
Doctor, you were in mute. Dr. Rahman, I think someone has muted you by mistake.
Okay, yeah. So can you hear me now?
Yes.
So as I said, like, in a doctoral journey, this is interesting. I actually like, identified, in fact, like if my student actually can identify something like that, I'll be more happy than actually like, than something, because if you actually get, okay, there are some influence, that is a typical findings.
I think someone has muted you again.
Someone is pressing all mute all the time. Anyway, so yeah. If I actually have a student who will identify like such things, I'll be more interested actually. Okay, but it's not bad.
I understood you. So thanks for that. So that's one of my concerns. Like we spend effort researching a topic, and towards the end we find that it was what it was, and then all the effort was wasted. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you say like, well, this is not good, that is also a good thing, because you have actually telling people like this is not good anymore.
Yeah. So the other way to look at it, in a way, it has reinforced the earlier findings.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor, for that.
No problem. Thank you.
And thanks for your presentation. It was really useful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? We still have some time. 7 minutes.
Okay, we had a little bit of luck.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, does anyone want to ask another question?
Yes, I'm Ramachandran.
Okay.
These findings, ultimately, when literature review has been done, we are referring it to by means of citations and references of some of the papers to help us in the findings, let us say. What is the ideal number of citations for a research paper?
There is no actually a recommendation for ideal number. Actually, it's more about a quality of citations in a doctoral study, because you may have a topic that is over research. You may have a topic that is not research at all. Now, when something is very unique, you will get some you will get less citation, that is normal. Say, for example, some people started talking about big data analytics when big data analytics is something that was not popular at all. They had actually very few citations, no citation at all, maybe, or very less citations. But eventually, they received very high number of citations. So citation is something that we cannot actually say at the beginning, but when I will supervise my student, I can easily sense that whether it has sufficient, insufficient, or okay, say moderate, number of citations. So as an expert, we can we can guide as a supervisor when we are supervising, because otherwise it is difficult to say, because there is nothing we can generalize.
As long as the citation goes with the final findings and that is adequate enough, that's more than sufficient. There is no number required. Minimum at least 40 should be there and all, nothing like that.
Yes, because sometimes as if I say something, you have actually identified that, well, something new, something different, and you have actually identified many citations. Sometimes I ask my student, instead of actually keeping all of them in the discussion section, make an appendix, keep it as an appendix, and refer that, well, many people said this, but my study identified this. For example, 2 of my students identified that for women in developing country, womenness is the main problem, not finance, not other things. Now that is something we have identified, and then we actually develop what other people have been talking about, barriers, but these are the new set of barriers. So we can actually present things in a very different way during doctoral journey.
Thank you, Professor. And it's a nice lecture today.
Thank you very much. And as I said, you can search my name and you will find me in LinkedIn or other media sites. So if you have further questions, you can send me an email or you can send me a message from LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to answer. So if you want to connect with me through LinkedIn, I think it is already there. So you can simply send me a connection request, and then, or just mention that you attended my session, and I will happy to connect, and also I'll be able to answer your question that you will ask me later.
Yeah, may I apologise for the noise level towards the end. We've had this on streaming to YouTube, and unfortunately what happens when you stream to YouTube, it's 20 seconds later. So as you started talking over each other. So I had to turn the streaming off to clarify that. So
okay.
I apologise for that. That's technology makes life a little bit different. It doesn't always make it perfect. Okay, thank you very much for everyone for attending. That was very interesting. Thank you very much, my professor. As always, very good presentation.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have got other webinars coming up, and we will be sending you the timetable over the next few weeks. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.